Court is about to be back in session for the third season of the new boot of Night Court. I'm talking with the stars Melissa Rauch, Emmy winner John Larroquette. So, Melissa, I'll let you do the honors. Tell us where we're at as we get ready for this third season of Night Court.
Well, we come into season 3, following up on a cliffhanger that we left off on during the end of season 2, where we find out if Jake, who is dating Abby, is Dan Fielding's son. And it's a 2-part episode. We learn some information in the first episode of season 3, and then we find out more in the second episode. And we also learn that there is a new prosecutor in Wendy Malick, who joins the cast as a series regular. She guest starred in the first 2 seasons, and now she's back to join our workplace family.
Such a fun show. And John, all of those years previously, obviously 4-time Emmy winner for this show in this role, such an iconic comedy role. Did you ever think you'd get to playing this role now in a new version of the show?
No, certainly not. You don't think about those things. You move on, and I was reluctant at first when I heard about it. I did, the idea of being compared to oneself 30 years ago is never, I don't think, a very pretty sight. But the more I talked to Melissa, the more I realized maybe there was life left in him to figure out what he had done during the ensuing 30 years from the last time we saw him. What did his life become, and where is he still funny? And we discovered that there was still lots of room in his life for humor and heart, which Abby Stone brings out in Dan Fielding more than anyone, certainly. So it became then a intriguing prospect to revisit someone that I had played that long ago.
Your character obviously has just this big transformation from what we saw from the 80s and 90s to now in this series. He was a former assistant DA to now a public defender. So he's kind of fighting the different battle. What's that like for your character to now get in these shoes?
Well, it turns out he's a lousy defense lawyer. He was a very good prosecutor. He lost very few cases. And there are not too many that he wins as a free lawyer, as he calls himself. But it's still fun, and it is what it is. It's fine. He's becoming more comfortable in that role of defending people who he doesn't really like that much anyway. But he finds ways to get through the day and to try and help them.
Melissa, being an EP on this show, obviously you get to help decide, like, all these guest stars. We see new cases on the show each time. There are so many guest stars that we've already seen, and hopefully we'll get to see. Can you preview anybody that's coming up on this third season?
Oh, I sure can. We're really, really fortunate to have such amazing guest stars this season. Marsha Warfield, who of course played Roz, Russell the bailiff in the original, comes back. We have Mayim Bialik, who was on The Big Bang Theory with me and also on the John Larroquette show, playing John's daughter years ago. She guest stars as herself, a bizarro version of Mayim Bialik. Kate Micucci, also from Big Bang Theory. Brent Spiner and Annie O'Donnell coming back as the Wheelers from the original. Andrew Reynolds, Nico Santos, Joe Latrigio, Andy Daly, Jessica St. Clair. Just really every week, Julia Duffy and Ryan Hansen are in our premiere. Just every week there's someone else that you just can't believe you get the good fortune of getting to work with.
So exciting to see all these different appearances on this kind of show. And you really helped bring this back. You had this big vision with your husband. When did this decide you were like, okay, we need another new boot, is what they're calling it, of Night Court?
It really was this idea, selfishly, of being a fan of the original and wanting to see it on TV again, and loving the multi-camera sitcom and trying to find the thing that was going to make it to the airwaves, and the structure of Night Court and the inherent DNA of what the show is, and the architecture of how stories come in and out of the courtroom. It's such a great story generator. And then, of course, when we reached out to John and spoke to him about it, it just felt like, oh, goodness, if John would come back and do this, it just really, truly needs to happen. And once he came on board, we were really off to the races.
It's so exciting to see him back in this character. John, as part of Night Court, this is the third season. Network comedies, unfortunately, if you know it's getting a third season, it's a great show because it's so cutthroat these days on these kind of stations. And NBC is fully backing Night Court. What is that like for you to get this full backing from them?
Well, it just gives you such a confidence that what you're doing is approved of and can continue to do. So you're not fighting the battle of wondering if they like you or not. They obviously do, since they gave us a full season. And so we're just free to try and make as funny a show as we possibly can.
Super funny. I'm so excited for people to start watching the third season of Night Court Tuesday nights at 8:30 on NBC, streaming the next day on Peacock. Thank you both so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.